Divorced men, what moment of quick thinking saved you? You think divorce is just about splitting assets? Think again. After my divorce, my ex didn't just want half my stuff, she wanted to destroy me. But what she didn't realize is that the constant threats, the setups, the manipulations, they turned me into a master of quick thinking. This isn't just a story about survival, it's about staying one step ahead when your ex tries to make you the villain in her twisted drama. Story 1, the midnight welfare check. My divorce wasn't dramatic at first, just cold. Then my ex got dramatic when she realized I wasn't begging. One night at 1:30 a.m., my phone lit up, emergency. It was her number. I almost answered out of habit, but something felt off. She never called me directly anymore, only emailed through our co-parenting app, like we were enemies in a war game. Quick thinking, I didn't pick up. I opened the app and typed, "What's the emergency? Please message here." Seconds later, she texted, "If you don't answer, I'm calling the cops for a welfare check. I think you're drunk again." I hadn't had a drink in 2 years. That's when it clicked. She wasn't scared for me, she wanted a police report. I stood up, turned every light on, and started recording a video on my phone: date, time, me sober, my kitchen, my water bottle, the book I was reading. Then I pulled up my Ring camera history and screen recorded the last hour. After that, I called the non-emergency line myself and calmly said, "My ex may request a welfare check. I'm fine. I'm recording for documentation." Sure enough, 2 officers knocked 10 minutes later. I walked outside, hands visible, camera still rolling. I was polite, coherent, and I offered them water. They asked basic questions, looked around, then left. At 2:07 a.m., my ex messaged, "So, you did answer," like she'd caught me. I just outthought her. Next morning, my lawyer said, "That video saved your life," because she filed an emergency motion that afternoon, claiming I was unstable. The judge watched my calm, time-stamped recording and her frantic texts. Her emergency turned into her embarrassment. Story 2, the silent flat tire. Divorce court taught me one thing: assume everything can be twisted. So, when I saw my ex's cousin in the parking lot of my apartment complex, hood up, phone out, hovering, I didn't wave. I didn't confront him. I didn't even look directly at him. Quick thinking, I turned around and walked back into the lobby like I'd forgotten something. Inside, I called my neighbor, a retired guy, always awake, asked him to watch from his window. Then, I stepped into the concierge area where there are cameras, and waited. 5 minutes later, my neighbor texted, "2 people just came out from behind your car." My stomach dropped. I would have walked right into that. I waited another minute, then called the building manager and told her I thought someone was tampering with my vehicle. She came down with security. We walked out together. My ex's cousin was magically gone, but my rear tire was hissing like a snake. A nail had been shoved into the sidewall. Security pulled footage. You could see 2 figures crouch by my wheel, then stand and film my car like they were making a "gotcha" video. I could almost hear the future accusation: "He's reckless. He drives with the kids in an unsafe car." Because I didn't confront anyone, didn't yell, didn't shove a phone in someone's face, there was no clip of me acting violent. Instead, there was footage of them damaging my tire. The quick thinking wasn't heroic. It was boring. Pause, step back, bring witnesses, use cameras. But it saved me from a setup that could have ended with me in cuffs or losing custody that weekend. Story 3, the gas station diversion. My divorce left me with a tiny apartment and a huge silence. One Saturday, I was driving back from picking up my son when I noticed a sedan trailing me. Same turns, same distance. At first, I thought I was paranoid. Then, it ran a yellow light. I didn't run just to stay with me. Quick thinking, I didn't go home. I remembered an old trick from a self-defense class: don't lead strangers to your nest. So, I drove toward the police station instead of my neighborhood. Halfway there, I hit my dashcam save button and called my brother on speaker. Not to be brave, just to have a witness hearing what happened in real time. As soon as I turned onto the street with the station's big lit sign, the sedan slowed, then pulled into a gas station like it suddenly needed snacks. Sure. I didn't relax. I pulled into the police station lot anyway, parked under the lights, and waited with the doors locked. My son was in the back seat humming, unaware he'd been my anchor in my panic at the same time. After a few minutes, a cruiser rolled through the lot. I flagged it down and explained calmly, "I think a car followed me. Here's the dashcam clip." The officer didn't laugh. He nodded like he'd heard it before. He walked out with me, looked toward the gas station, and the sedan was gone. Later that night, my co-parenting app pinged, my ex asking why I was driving around with our child late. She had my location from an old shared account I forgot to remove. That was the moment quick thinking saved me twice: first, from whoever was tailing me, and second, from feeding my ex a story. I changed passwords, removed sharing, and sent one message: for safety, all location sharing is now off. Story 4, the parking lot performance after the divorce. I learned to keep interactions short, public, and boring. My ex hated that. She wanted scenes, tears, shouting, anything she could point to as proof. During a custody exchange at a grocery store parking lot, she started baiting me, loud enough for people to hear. Tell them why you left. Tell them how you abandoned us. My chest tightened. Old me would have argued. Old me would have defended myself like a man on trial. But I saw what she was doing. She had her phone angled toward me, screen glowing. Recording. Quick thinking. I went silent and changed my body language. I turned slightly away from her, non-threatening posture, then addressed my son instead of her. Hey buddy, can you buckle up? Remember, click, tug, done. Calm voice, simple words, no emotion. She escalated. You're ignoring me again. That's what you do, narcissist. I didn't react. I opened my own phone and hit record, not pointing it at her dramatically, just down by my side, capturing audio in our surroundings. Then I said one sentence, loud and steady. I'm here for the exchange. Please step back. That was it. No insults, no history lesson, no defense. A stranger nearby actually looked over, saw her yelling, and me just parenting. She realized she wasn't getting the clip she wanted. She stopped, grabbed her keys, and stormed off. Later, she emailed my lawyer claiming I threatened her. My recording proved the opposite. Her video, if it existed, was useless because it showed nothing but her screaming while I told a kid to buckle his seatbelt. Quick thinking didn't save me from a car crash. It saved me from becoming the villain in someone else's edited story. Story 5, the traffic stop nerves. This one isn't about my ex trying to ruin me. It's about me almost ruining myself. A few months after the divorce, I was broke and exhausted. One night, I got pulled over for a burnt-out taillight. Harmless, right? Except my brain screamed, this is it. Something bad is going to happen. You're going to lose everything. Trauma does that. Turns a traffic stop into a movie trailer. The officer walked up and asked, have you been drinking tonight? I hadn't, but my mouth got dry and my hands started shaking. Quick thinking. I didn't answer like a defensive guy trying to prove innocence. I answered like a calm adult trying to be understood. No, sir. I'm nervous. I'm recently divorced and I'm not sleeping well, but I haven't had any alcohol. Then I did something I didn't know I was allowed to do. I asked for structure. What do you need from me? I can get my license and registration. Tell me where you want my hands. The officer's whole vibe changed. He relaxed. He nodded. Thanks for telling me. Keep your hands on the wheel while I run your info. Turns out my registration was expired by a week because my mail was still going to the old house. That could have spiraled into a mess, impound threats, fines, me panicking, saying something stupid. Instead, I said, understood. I can renew online tonight. Is there anything else you need right now? He gave me a fix-it ticket and told me to drive safe. The quick thinking wasn't tactical. It was emotional control. Naming my nerves instead of letting them control my words. That night, I realized survival after divorce is mostly that, catching yourself before you make a bad moment worse. Story 6, the unapproved relocation. My ex and I had a no surprises clause in our custody agreement, meaning neither of us could just move with the kid or change schools without notice. She treated that clause like a suggestion. I found out the hard way when my son casually said, Mom says I might live with her aunt for a bit. I felt the blood drain out of my face. Her aunt lived 2 hours away. If she got him there and enrolled him somewhere, it would turn into a slow-motion kidnapping with paperwork. Quick thinking, I didn't argue with my ex. I didn't text anything emotional. I went straight to documentation mode. I asked my son gently, who told you that? I wrote his answers down word for word. Then I checked the co-parenting app. No notice. I opened our court order PDF and took screenshots of the exact paragraph about relocation and school changes. After that, I sent one message through the app. Per the order, please confirm you are not relocating our child or changing school. If you intend to request changes, submit in writing with required notice. She responded fast. Too fast. You're paranoid. Stop harassing me. That was my opening. I called my lawyer and forwarded the message thread. My lawyer filed a motion the same day. Not because she did it, but because she threatened it and refused to clarify. 2 days later, we got an emergency hearing. In court, she tried to play sweet. I never said I'd move him. He misunderstood. Then the judge asked, so, you'll confirm? On record, no relocation plans? She hesitated. A long, stupid hesitation. That hesitation did the talking. The judge ordered she surrender the child's passport to the court and mandated all communication through the app only. If I'd exploded at her, she would have called me unstable. Quick thinking saved me by making the situation boring and official before she could make it permanent. Story 7, the open door trap. After my divorce, I started dating again. I was careful. No drama, no overlap with parenting, no messy social media. My ex, though, treated my dating life like a competition she refused to lose. One weekend, I came home and found my front door slightly ajar. Not kicked in, just wrong. My first instinct was to rush inside and check everything. I almost did. Quick thinking, I didn't go in. I stepped back and looked around like I was suddenly seeing my place for the first time. The doormat was slightly crooked. A tiny piece of clear tape was stuck near the latch, like someone had tested it. I walked to my car, locked the doors, and called the police. While I waited, I did something I'm glad I did. I recorded a slow video of the door, the tape, the latch, the hallway, my hands nowhere near it. Proof I didn't stage it. Proof I didn't touch it. The officers arrived, cleared the apartment, and found nothing missing. But they did find my spare key box in the back stairwell. Opened, empty. I'd forgotten it existed. My ex had once joked that I was predictable. I suddenly understood the joke. Here's the twist: 2 days later, she texted, "I heard someone broke into your place. Are you okay?" like she was Mother Teresa. Quick thinking saved me again. I replied, "Police handled it. Please keep communication to our co-parenting app." No accusation, no bait, just a wall. I changed locks, removed every old access point, installed a better camera, and filed the police report with my attorney just in case. If I'd rushed in, I could have gotten hurt or caught inside a setup. Instead, I treated my own home like a crime scene. That one pause probably kept me alive. Story 8, the emergency that wasn't divorce makes you forget how to trust your own judgment. So, when my ex called me crying, actually crying, I almost fell for it. She said she was locked out and needed me to come over because our kid's medicine was inside. The old me would have sprinted, but my brain flashed one memory: her last crisis ended with me being blamed for showing up uninvited. Quick thinking, I asked one question: put our kid on the phone. Silence. Then he's in the bathroom. Okay, I said, calm. Text me a photo of the prescription bottle and the address. I'll call a locksmith and your neighbor, she snapped. The crying vanished like someone turned off a faucet. Are you serious? You don't care if he gets sick? That switch was my proof. This wasn't an emergency. It was a trap designed to get me on her property so she could call the cops or start a fight on camera. So, I did the safest thing possible. I called the pharmacy and confirmed the medication could be refilled early if needed. Then, I messaged through the co-parenting app: if our child needs medication, I can pick up a refill at X pharmacy. If you are locked out, call a locksmith or your landlord. 5 minutes later, she posted vague stuff on social media about being a single mom with no help, but my kid was fine. Turns out he was with her sister the entire time. Quick thinking didn't make me a hero. It made me impossible to manipulate. And after divorce, that's basically life-saving. Story 9, the sketchy settlement form. I thought the worst part of divorce would be loneliness. Nope. It was paperwork with landmines. During the settlement, my ex emailed me a simple form to sign to speed things up. It looked official. She said her lawyer already reviewed it. I was exhausted, broke, and ready to be done. I drove to a well-lit mechanic chain near a main road and told them, "I think someone put a tracker on my vehicle. Can you remove it while I record?" They looked at me like I was paranoid until they saw it. The manager removed it with gloves and put it in a bag. I called the non-emergency police line and made a report. I also changed every password that night: email, phone carrier PIN, bank login. 2 days later, my ex casually asked in the co-parenting app, "How was your coffee date?" Like it was a joke. I didn't answer the question. I wrote, "Do not surveil me. Communication only about our child." Then I forwarded everything to my lawyer. Quick thinking saved my life because that tracker wasn't just creepy. It could have led someone to my home, my kid, my routines. And it reminded me after divorce, you don't just lock doors, you lock information. Story 14, the unauthorized pickup. The scariest moment of my post-divorce life wasn't court. It was a phone call from my son's school. "Hi, we have someone here to pick up your son. She says she's authorized." My ex had no pickup rights on my days. We had a strict schedule because she tried to swap days and then keep him longer. Quick thinking, I didn't panic into an argument with the secretary. I went into checklist mode. Please do not release him. Tell me the person's name and ask for ID. Then ask her to wait while you call the officer on campus. Our school has a resource officer. Bless that man. The secretary hesitated like I was being dramatic. I repeated calmly, "This is not authorized. Please follow your safety protocol. Then I opened my email, found the custody order PDF, and forwarded the exact page to the school administration with a highlighted screenshot of pickup rules. While doing that, I called my lawyer's office and left a message, potential unauthorized pickup attempt. 10 minutes later, the school called back. It wasn't my ex. It was her friend who claimed my ex gave permission. The officer made her leave. Later, my ex messaged, "Why are you making everything so hard?" She was just helping. Helping would have been texting me first. This was a boundary test. Quick thinking saved my life because if my kid had walked out with the wrong person, it wouldn't have been a misunderstanding. It would have been a nightmare with a head start. Story 15, the sparking outlet after the divorce. I started doing everything myself. Repairs, cooking, parenting, bills. Pride is expensive. One night, the smoke alarm went off while my daughter was asleep. I smelled something weird, like burning plastic. I ran to the kitchen and saw the outlet behind the microwave sparking. Tiny flashes like angry fireflies. Quick thinking. I didn't throw water on it. I didn't yank the cord out with bare hands. I didn't stand there staring like a guy in a horror movie. I grabbed my phone and whispered, "Hey Siri, call emergency services." Because my hands were shaking. Then I ran to the breaker box and killed power to the kitchen. The sparking stopped instantly. I took the microwave plug out safely, then woke my daughter gently, carried her outside with a blanket, and waited on the curb. The firefighters came and told me the outlet wiring was melting inside the wall. If I'd unplugged it first, it could have arced and ignited the insulation. If I tried to fix it like a tough guy, I could have burned my apartment down with my kid inside. My ex later said, "See, you can't even keep a home safe." That comment almost got under my skin, but I had the report. I had the timestamp. I had the proof that I did the right thing fast. Quick thinking saved our lives. And it also taught me something I wish I'd learned earlier: asking for help isn't weakness. It's speed. Story 16, the silent killer. 2 months after the divorce, I moved into a cheap duplex and tried to pretend I was fine. One night, my son slept over, and I woke up dizzy, like the room was tilting. I stood up and my knees almost folded. The air felt thick, heavy, like breathing through a towel. Quick thinking hit me like a slap. Carbon monoxide. I'd read one article years ago and never forgot the symptom list: headache, nausea, confusion, flu at night. I didn't check the furnace. I didn't try to be the handyman hero. I grabbed my son first, scooped him up half asleep, and stumbled outside in socks. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my phone once, then managed to call emergency. While we waited on the curb, my son mumbled, "Dad, why are we outside?" I said, "Because I want you breathing tomorrow." Firefighters showed up with a meter, and the guy's face changed immediately. He shouted, "Get farther away!" And suddenly, it wasn't just a maybe. It was real. They kicked my door open, shut the gas, and carried out our dog. Limp. Then the paramedic looked at me and said, "If you'd gone back to sleep, you might not wake up." My ex texted later, "Why is the school saying you were in an ambulance?" I didn't answer. I watched them load my dog onto oxygen, lights flashing blue across the snow, and my son clinging to my jacket like he finally understood it wasn't drama. It was seconds. Story 17, the fake process server. I was leaving mediation when a guy in a cheap suit stepped into my path outside the courthouse. "Hey, Mark, right? You need to sign these." He held out papers like it was routine. My brain was fried, my hands already reaching until I noticed two things. He didn't say my last name and the top page didn't have a case number, just bold text, "Acknowledgement of service." Quick thinking. I didn't touch it. I didn't even lean in to read. I said, "What law firm are you with?" He hesitated. I'm just delivering." "Sign it." I stepped back and lifted my phone like I was checking a text, but I was actually recording. "State your name for the camera." He turned his body away immediately like a cockroach avoiding light. Then he tried a different angle. "If you don't sign, the judge will." "No," I said, calm. "If you're legitimate, you can serve me properly." His jaw clenched. He shoved the papers toward me harder. I took one more step back and said louder, "Do not touch me." A deputy nearby looked over. The guy's whole posture changed. He stuffed the papers under his arm and walked fast, not toward the building, toward a car idling with someone inside. My lawyer later told me my ex had been trying to claim I was avoiding service on some emergency filing so she could paint me as uncooperative. If I'd signed whatever that was, it could have acknowledged things I never received. I watched that car peel out, tires squealing on the curb cut, and for the first time in weeks, I felt awake. She wasn't trying to win. She was trying to trap. Story 18, the dinner ambush. Dating after divorce is a minefield. But I wasn't expecting an actual ambush, just a normal dinner. I met a woman from an app at a trendy place downtown. She was charming, laughed at my dumb jokes, asked about my kid in a way that felt practiced. Halfway through, she went to the bathroom. A minute later, a guy slid into the seat across from me like he owned it. "You're the ex-husband," he said. My stomach dropped. I recognized him from old photos. My ex is just a friend from her office. He leaned forward, voice low. "So what? You moved on already? You think you can?" Quick thinking. I didn't stand up. I didn't swing. I didn't even argue. I looked past him, raised my hand, and said clearly, "Hey, could we get the manager over here?" He froze. "What?" I repeated it louder, calm like I was ordering dessert. "Manager, please." People turned. The attention hit him like cold water. He tried to keep it quiet, but quiet doesn't work when everyone is looking. I stood up slowly, palms open. "I don't know this man. Please step away from my table." That sentence did everything. The staff moved in. He stood too, face red, and hissed, "You're scared." I nodded once, like I didn't care if he thought that. Yeah, scared enough to have witnesses. My date came back, eyes wide. She didn't sit. She didn't apologize. She just stared at him, then at me like she'd been paid to be there, and the script went off rails. Security walked him out. And when he reached the door, he snapped and tried to lunge back, only to be grabbed by two bouncers so fast his shoes left the floor. I left with my receipt in my hand, hard punching my ribs, and my phone buzzing with my ex's message, "Hope dinner was fun." Story 19, the choking hazard. I was on the phone with my daughter when she suddenly went quiet. Not teen quiet, wrong quiet. I heard her breathing fast, wheezy, then a tiny sound like gagging. "Sweetheart," I said. "Talk to me." Nothing. Quick thinking. I didn't waste time asking questions. I went straight into action like my brain flipped into some emergency setting I didn't know I had. I yelled for my ex because my daughter was at her house. Then I stayed on speaker and said, "If she's choking, you need to hit her back hard between the shoulder blades 5 times, now." My ex's voice came in panic. "She can't breathe. What do I do?" "Back blows. Now. Lean her forward." I heard scrambling, crying, my ex shouting my daughter's name. Then I heard the impacts, thuds, followed by a wet cough that sounded like the best sound on earth. My daughter screamed. Actual screaming, then sobbing. Air was back. "What was it?" I demanded, already dialing emergency with my other hand. My ex held up the phone, and I heard her say, shaking, "A grape. A whole grape." I went cold. She'd given her whole grapes. Later, my ex tried to twist it, "You always think I'm incompetent." I didn't answer that. I just kept hearing the silence on the line. Those few seconds where a kid can disappear. Then that first horrible cough that meant she didn't. Story 20, the silent heist. I was driving home after dropping the kids off when I noticed a new notification from my bank. Password changed. Then another, new device registered. Then a third, wire transfer initiated. My hands went icy on the steering wheel. I hadn't done any of that. Quick thinking. I didn't call the number in the text. I didn't click any link. I knew that trick, fake alerts to funnel you into a scammer. I pulled over, hazards on, and opened my bank app directly. My login didn't work. That wasn't a scam text. That was real. I called the number on the back of my debit card and said, "Freeze everything. Someone's in my account right now." The rep asked security questions. One answer had been changed, my mother's maiden name, something my ex knew. While the rep locked it down, I opened my email and searched security. There it was. A forwarding rule I didn't create. Every bank email silently redirected. Whoever did it didn't just want money. They wanted me blind. Then my ex called. Not text. Called like she couldn't wait. "Hey," she said, too cheerful. "Random question. Did you change banks?" That's when my brain went crystal clear. She wasn't fishing. She was checking if the robbery worked. Quick thinking. I didn't accuse her. Accusations make people careful. I went calm. "Yeah, I'm sorting it." "Why?" A pause. Tiny. Then no reason. I stayed on the phone with the fraud department while they canceled the wire. 30 seconds before it would have cleared. 30 seconds. That night, I sat in the dark refreshing my account like a man watching a heart monitor. And my phone lit up with her last message, "You're so paranoid lately." And I realized the scariest part wasn't the money. It was how close someone got and how casually they smiled while doing it. Story 21, the rip current rescue. My divorce left me doing new dad things alone, like taking my kid to the beach on my weekend and pretending I totally knew what I was doing. We were at a calm looking spot. No big waves, families everywhere. My son wanted to go just past the little sandbar. I said yes because I didn't want to be the paranoid ex-husband dad. 2 minutes later, I realized the water wasn't moving toward shore anymore. It was moving sideways. My feet kept sliding like the ocean was a conveyor belt. My son's eyes got huge, and he started dog paddling hard, but the gap between us was growing. Quick thinking, I didn't swim straight back. Every instinct screamed toward land, but I remembered something from a random video. Rip currents don't let you win a tug-of-war. You go sideways until it stops pulling. I grabbed my son's wrist. Not his hand, not his shirt, his wrist. Firm. Then I yelled, "We're going to swim along the beach." I kicked parallel to shore like my life depended on it because it did. I kept my voice calm for him, but my lungs were burning. After maybe 20 seconds, the pull eased. The water stopped dragging us like luggage. Then we angled in, not fighting the current any. We stumbled onto sand, both coughing, both shaking. A guy nearby said, "You did that right." I sat there staring at my son's wet eyelashes, realizing how close Fun Dad Day came to becoming a headline. Later, my ex tried to mock me. "So, you almost drowned with him?" I didn't even argue. I just looked at my son eating fries like nothing happened and thought, quick thinking isn't bravery. It's remembering one stupid fact at the exact second it matters. Story 22, the fake kidnapping call. I was folding laundry when I got a call from an unknown number. A man's voice said fast and official, "Sir, we have your son. If you hang up, this gets worse." My heart stopped so hard it felt like my chest went hollow. I don't even remember standing up. He continued, "He was taken from school. We can make this easy if you cooperate." Quick thinking. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I did the one thing my therapist drilled into me after the divorce: slow down your body. Then your brain catches up. I said, "Okay, tell me his full name." A pause. "You're a son?" "No," I said. "Full name." He snapped, "Don't play games." That was my second clue. Anyone who actually had my kid would weaponize details. This guy had none. But I still needed to be 100% sure. So, I used our family code word, the dumb one we made during the divorce for emergencies. I said, "Put him on the phone. Ask him the code word." Silence. Then, some muffled noise like a hand over a mic. Then a random kid crying clip like from a video. My stomach turned, but I stayed steady. I said, "I'm calling the school and the police right now." And I hung up. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped my phone dialing the school. The secretary answered like it was any normal day. "He's in class." I had to sit on the floor. I actually laughed once like a broken person. Then I realized what almost happened. If I'd panicked, I would have driven somewhere, sent money, maybe even left my house empty. That's what they wanted. Divorce taught me to expect manipulation. I hate that it did, but that day it literally saved my life. Story 23, the special sleepy candy. My ex started dating a wellness guy who believed in herbs, detoxes, and natural calming. I tried to stay out of it. Then my daughter came to my place on my weekend and said super casually, "Mom gave me special sleepy candy for my stomach." My stomach dropped. "Show me." She pulled a gummy from her pocket in a little baggie. No label, no dosage, nothing. My brain flashed every headline I'd ever seen. Quick thinking, I didn't accuse my ex. I didn't call to scream. I went straight to facts. I asked my daughter calmly, "Did you eat any already?" She nodded. 2. I took a photo of the gummy, the bag, and her face. Awake but glassy. Then I called poison control. While on the phone, I checked her pulse and had her sip water. The specialist asked a bunch of questions and then said the sentence that made my knees weak, "That could be THC or melatonin or something worse. You need to go to urgent care now." At urgent care, the nurse took one look at my daughter's droopy eyelids and said, "We'll test." The test came back, THC edible. I felt rage, but quick thinking kept me from exploding in a way that could hurt my custody. I asked the doctor for a written report. I saved every discharge paper. I messaged my ex one line through the app, "Doctor confirmed THC exposure. All supplements/meds must be labeled and agreed in writing." My ex replied, "It was an accident. Don't be dramatic." The judge didn't call it dramatic when we went back to court. The judge called it unsafe. My ex lost decision-making power on medical stuff for a while. Quick thinking saved my kid's body that night and saved my sanity later because I had proof instead of just anger. Story 24, the burning toast. I was in the shower when the hallway outside my apartment started smelling like burnt toast. Then the smoke alarm in the hall went off. One long angry scream. I threw on a towel and opened my door for a crack. The hallway was gray, not a little smoky, gray like fog, and I could hear people shouting from the stairwell. Quick thinking, I didn't run for the elevator. I didn't fling my door open and inhale a lungful of smoke. I shut it, locked it, and got low. I grabbed my phone, called emergency, and gave my unit number. Then, I soaked 2 towels, shoved one under the door gap, and kept the other over my mouth. My brain was weirdly calm, like it had a script. My ex used to laugh at my paranoid habits, keeping a flashlight by the bed, always charging my phone. That night, those habits mattered. The dispatcher told me to stay put because the fire was in the stairwell below. People who rushed out were getting trapped in smoke. I stayed on the floor, phone in my hand, breathing through wet fabric, listening to boots thud on stairs, and someone coughing hard. Firefighters eventually pounded on my door. I didn't stand up like a movie hero. I stayed low until they told me. They guided me out, and when we hit fresh air, I realized my hands were shaking so violently I couldn't even hold my towel. Outside, I watched smoke pour out of the stairwell and thought if I'd panicked and run, I might have run straight into the worst place. Divorce didn't prepare me for fire. But it did teach me to pause before I act, and that pause saved me. Story 25, the gym ambush. This one's ugly, but it's real. After the divorce, my ex's brother decided I needed a lesson. He'd always hated me, and now he had a mission. I was leaving the gym when I saw him in the parking lot leaning on my car like it belonged to him. He smiled like we were old friends. Then he stepped closer and said loud, "So you finally come out alone." My gut screamed trap. His phone was in his hand. Camera lens pointed just slightly upward. Not subtle. Quick thinking. I didn't say a word. Not one. I walked right past him into the gym entrance where the cameras are. Went to the front desk and said, "That man outside is blocking my car. Can you call security and please stand with me?" He followed me in, still talking, trying to get a reaction. "Tell them what you did to my sister." He was baiting me into defending myself, raising my voice, becoming the clip. I stayed calm and said to the front desk, "I want a staff member to witness me leaving. If he approaches me, call the police." The moment I said, "police," his confidence cracked because bullies don't want consequences. They want chaos they can control. Security walked out with me. He backed off instantly, acting like he was just talking. Security told him to leave. He threw one last line over his shoulder, "Coward." And I thought, fine, call me whatever. I got in my car and drove away alive. Not bruised, not arrested, not filmed in a crazy ex-husband montage. Quick thinking saved my life because the real danger wasn't his fists. It was the story he wanted to build out of my reaction. Story 26, the Instagram hacker. My ex loved to weaponize concern. The day I finally signed the last divorce paper, she texted, "I'm worried about you. You're not stable." Then she sent a screenshot of my own Instagram story, a story I hadn't posted. My stomach turned cold. Someone had access. Quick thinking, I didn't ask, "How did you?" and give away that I was scared. I played dumb. "What are you talking about? I didn't post that." Then I went straight to damage control. I opened my account settings and saw a login from a device I didn't recognize. Same city, same model phone as hers. I changed the password, logged out of all devices, and turned on two-factor. Then I did the same for my email, because if they own your email, they own your life. While I was doing that, I got another text from her. "Wow, deleting posts now. Guilty much?" That's when it hit me. She wasn't just snooping. She was trying to create evidence of me posting unstable stuff, then act like she found it. I took screenshots of the suspicious login history and her texts. Then I reported the hack inside the app and emailed my lawyer, potential account compromise used for harassment. 2 days later, she filed a motion claiming I was publicly spiraling. The judge asked for proof. She produced blurry screenshots. My lawyer produced the platform security log and the timestamp texts where she taunted me about deleting. The judge's face changed in that quiet, deadly way. Quick thinking saved me because if I'd exploded, she'd have a clip of me raging. Instead, I had receipts, and receipts beat theatrics every time. Story 27, the dead engine on the highway. My first solo road trip with my kids post-divorce was supposed to be healing. It turned into the scariest 15 seconds of my life. We were on the highway when my engine started losing power. Like someone slowly turned off the car. Dashboard lit up. Steering got heavy. A semi was beside me, and behind me another car was tailgating like a psychopath. Quick thinking, I didn't slam on the brakes. I didn't jerk the wheel. I turned on hazards immediately and aimed for the shoulder. But there was barely any shoulder, just gravel and a steep ditch. I remembered a trick from a mechanic friend: if the engine dies, you still have a little momentum and sometimes one shot at restarting without panic. I shifted to neutral to keep rolling, then tried the ignition. It coughed once, didn't catch. The semi's air blast shoved my car sideways. My daughter screamed. I kept my voice calm like a liar. "It's okay. Seatbelt's tight." I pumped the brake gently to keep control, then looked for the next exit sign instead of the shoulder, because the shoulder was death. There was an off-ramp in half a mile. I aimed for it like it was a lifeboat. I used the last of my momentum to glide across one lane, then another, signaling the whole time like signaling would magically keep idiots away. Somehow, a gap opened. I took it and rolled onto the ramp, coasting like a dead boat. We stopped at the bottom, safe, shaking. The tow truck driver later said, "Your alternator's gone. If you'd stopped on that shoulder, someone would have clipped you." Quick thinking saved my life by making me choose the safer bad option instead of the obvious one. Story 28. The crying ex and the two shadows. My ex liked surprise drop-ins under the excuse of the kids. I was just in the neighborhood. It always came with a side of boundary testing. One night, after the kids were asleep, someone knocked hard. Not a polite knock, a "let me in" knock. I looked through the peephole and saw my ex, alone, crying. But behind her, down the hallway, I saw two shadows near the stairs. Men silhouettes waiting. My blood went cold. Quick thinking, I didn't open the door to talk. I didn't yell, "Who's there?" like a movie idiot. I turned on every light, started recording on my phone, and spoke through the closed door in a calm voice. "I'm not opening the door. If you need to discuss the kids, message me in the app." She sniffed dramatically. "Please, I just need to talk." I said louder for the hallway, "I'm calling the police if you don't leave." The shadows moved. One of them stepped closer, then stopped when my hallway camera's little red light blinked. Suddenly, my ex's crying changed into rage. "You're such a psycho." She stormed off. The shadows followed. I waited 10 minutes, heart pounding, then checked my camera footage. You could see it clearly, her performing at my door while two men lingered, ready for what? A confrontation? A shove? He threatened me, set up? Next day, she messaged, "You humiliated me." No, I avoided being trapped in whatever scene she planned. Quick thinking saved my life because I didn't confuse tears with safety. Story 29. The fake concussion claim. I thought I was being responsible by keeping my ex updated about the kids. So, when our son got a minor concussion at soccer, he was fine. I called her right away. Big mistake. Within an hour, she was at the urgent care screaming that I was negligent. Staff stared. My son looked terrified. She demanded they document everything and kept trying to bait me. "Tell them you weren't watching. Tell them you were on your phone." Quick thinking. I stopped trying to prove myself and started protecting my kid. I stepped away from her, kept my voice low, and asked the nurse, "Can we please speak privately? My child is getting anxious." Then I asked the nurse for a patient advocate, someone neutral. When my ex tried to follow, the nurse calmly blocked her. "Sir asked for privacy for the child." That changed everything. Now my ex wasn't the star. She was just noise. I told the nurse the facts. Then I typed a short, emotionless note in the co-parenting app: time of injury, doctor's summary, discharge instructions. No opinions, no defense. Later, my ex filed a complaint claiming I withheld medical information. My app message proved I didn't. And the advocate's notes showed my ex was the one escalating around a scared kid. Quick thinking saved me because it made the situation about my son's health, not my ex's performance. Story 30. The sketchy online sale. After the divorce, money was tight. I sold my old watch online. Nothing fancy, just sentimental. A buyer insisted on meeting in person with cash. He chose a parking lot behind a strip mall. My gut didn't love it, but I needed the money. I arrived and immediately noticed two things: no other cars nearby and the buyer's friend leaning against the far wall pretending to scroll his phone. Quick thinking, I didn't get out holding the watch. I stayed in the car, doors locked, and texted, "I'm here. Please meet me at the coffee shop entrance." He replied, "Nah, right here. Hurry." That hurry was the tell. Honest buyers don't rush you into corners. So, I did the safest awkward thing possible. I drove away. Not fast, just left. As I pulled out, I saw the friend push off the wall and start walking toward my car like he'd been waiting for me to open the door. My phone buzzed with angry texts. "Bro, WTF, stop playing." I blocked the number and went straight to the police station parking lot again, my favorite place now, apparently, and sat there until my heart stopped racing. Maybe it was just a robbery setup, maybe worse. All I know is that after divorce, you think you've survived the worst of humanity. Then you remember there's always someone willing to exploit a tired man who needs cash. Quick thinking saved my life because I chose embarrassment over danger. So, what did these experiences teach me? Divorce isn't just a legal battle, it's a psychological war zone where every interaction is a potential landmine. My ex thought she could break me, but every trap she set, every lie she spun, only made me sharper, more observant, and more committed to protecting my peace and my children. Quick thinking became my superpower, not just a tactical advantage, but a way of life. It taught me that sometimes, the most heroic thing you can do is to just pause, collect your thoughts, and calmly choose the safest, most documented path forward. Have you ever had to navigate a high-conflict situation where quick thinking saved the day? What's the one piece of advice you'd give someone going through a tough time with an ex? I want to hear your strategies for staying calm and smart under pressure. Let me know in the comments.